and we move cross country to Seattle. Soon as I get here, I come out in advance before my wife and my girls at the time. And a month after we get here, for those of you that do know, there was a big fight that happened between my mom and me and my family. So that causes us to be homeless in a shelter. Um, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is not what Seattle is supposed to be at all. Like, we are not supposed to be here. We are not supposed to be in this situation. We're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to be turning things around. We're supposed to be on the upward trek. And so, one of the things that I started thinking of was going through that, we had each other. And the thing that I wanted was for us to be built on his foundation, and him being the pillar was happening right in front of me. Which leads me to James 1, 2, and 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Fast forward to this past October, my mom passes away. And I look back on those, um, and even that story, and how God was telling us, hey, you need to do what you know you need to do in order for you to please me and be happy and be at peace. And so we did that. I was at a very odd peace about it because, um, I was sad. Don't get me wrong. I was sad. I was devastated, but I was at a peace about it because I did what God told me to do. And she gave her life to Christ before she passed. And I think back on, if only I would have ran, if only we would have left that shelter and went back to Louisiana or went anywhere else other than here, what could have happened? You know, and again, all that happened in a short 3 years. Um, and in during that time that we were in the shelter, I felt like I lost everything. My mind, just my sanity, just everything. Um, I thought about Job, and that's a man who truly lost everything. I ain't lose as much as he did. I ain't lose as much as he did. I ain't lose as much as he did, but I did feel like I was losing a lot based on the series of events that situation. And he says, well, in Job 23:10, it says, but he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold. And so, of course, just like we do, he went through some things. He questioned God. He even questioned his own life. Why did I not perish at birth? And even through it all, he still worshiped. And so now, being able to exercise and make that choice of choosing faith when I'm faced with, and make that choice of choosing faith when I'm faced with um, a difficult time, instead of worrying about what's not going to happen, I just thank God for what is happening. And I've literally seen him just make it work, and so um, it's scary at times. Obviously, if you think about Peter in the boat, he literally said, well, Jesus said to him, "It is me. Do not be scared. Step on the water." Now, if a man tell me step on the water and I stay on that water, I don't think I'm gonna be scared. But I say that until it happens. But even in that, he was still fearful, and he lost focus, and he slipped. And he said, "You of little faith, um, why would you doubt?" And at times we do subconsciously doubt God, because we think, because he doesn't come when we want him to, or work the way that he wants us to, that he's not going to do it. But I can tell you, he's going to do it. Now, he's going to get down to the wire now. He's going to get right down to that wire, but he is going to do it. And so I'm going to leave y'all, and I'm closing y'all. Um, I'm sorry. I said I was going to be serious, and I'm not. Y'all know me. Y'all know me. Um, you know, the word says, "Have I not commanded you, be strong, courageous, do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And just because he is with us doesn't mean that we're free from trials. We are going to face those trials. We're going to face those fiery darts. But it's how we stand firm in that. Britt was talking about audacity, and to me, this is one of those audacity moments of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where they are going to be thrown into the blazing furnace. And he says, the God I serve will rescue me from this furnace. But even if he doesn't, now the word says, I will not serve the path. God bless you.
Hey, y'all. Ooh, Happy New Year. It's 12:09. We made it. We made it. Oh, it's 12:10. Okay. Father, let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing and acceptable to you. Now, look here. When Pastor Jay asked me if I really want to be refined at home, hold my trumpet, Gabriel. I got to go have Pastor Jay text Amelia real quick. So here we are. And I think you said, if I went last, I could go long. Now, that's probably not what you said, but it's what I read. So I'm just here to say that. You could argue that my walk in faith began in my mother's womb, since she gave me my first and best gift of knowing God. But don't worry, I'm not going to take you that far back. But I suppose my own personal walk began on February 14th, 1985. My youth minister, Willard Krigler, a.k.a. Bro Krig, had asked me to come to his office after school. Now, I'm sure my older brother dropped me off, and we both probably wondered aloud what in the world I had done to be summoned to his office. I was at church every time the doors were open, and I've always been something of a rule follower, so I was a little bit perplexed. But I'm sure my brother dropped me off and drove away quickly so as to not be tainted by me having to be in Bro Krieg's office. I arrived at his cramped, book-filled office, and after a few pleasantries, he asked me how my walk with Christ was going, since I had not yet decided to be baptized. I was 15 years old, and most of my peers had already made this decision by this time. Now, you have to understand, this wasn't pressure. He was really genuinely concerned and stood ready to answer all the questions I had. I know that he stood ready to answer all of these questions because I always had questions for Bro Krig. At Bible study, at youth retreats, at drama club, I was full of questions. I'm not sure how this man didn't tire of me. Maybe he did, but I never knew it. But now, if you're wondering if I was some sort of deep thinker, you should probably think again. It's that I did and still do want to ensure that my faith is rooted not in custom, but in truth. And I like to understand how language and customs and translation choices have helped shape our beliefs. But other times, I just wondered aloud that if a woman had written Genesis, I might know what Lot's wife's name was. She would have told us. Now, I don't remember all of what I asked Bro Krig that evening, but I know that, as usual, he was patient and loving and genuine. Someone who could truly see me and spark in me a truth that faith in God, and indeed God himself, is big enough for questions, for challenge, for doubt. Is why when he asked if I wanted to be baptized that night, I leapt at the opportunity. Now, I already had faith, but he showed me how to have faith in my faith. And I'm not saying this has to be your walk, but as Pastor Jay says, I think it's good news for somebody that when Jesus is confronted by those with questions, he welcomes them. John the Baptist, whose entire personality, some might say, was really about preparing people for Jesus, he himself, when faced with jail and execution, says, "So are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another?" In other words, Jesus, you legit, right? Now, Jesus doesn't rebuke him. He simply tells the disciples to go back and tell John what you see, that Jesus is indeed our Messiah. Now, my time is tight up here, so go back and read Matthew 11 for the full story. News for me. Because on February 14th, 1985, I had the question of a lifetime that I was too afraid to ask aloud. At first, because I was just scared. Not scared because I knew there was absolutely nothing in any of the biblical translations or the concordances or the liturgical text that lined his office that could answer it. I didn't need an answer to the question from him. But I was scared that the question itself would mean that my faith was compromised. But what I learned by Bro Krieg's example was that God wasn't angry that I wondered. And questions didn't mean that my faith was illegitimate. It meant that I was seeking. And Jeremiah 29:13 tells us, if you look for me wholeheartedly, you will find me. And that was all I needed that night. But I didn't know that there were so many nights to come where I would find myself returning to February 14th, 1985, to reroot myself in faith. The question of why my mother had an inoperable brain tumor could wait. Now, that might sound strange to you because the question seems existential, urgent even. But you see, it was just the seeking that I was after that day. The knowing that the question didn't separate me from God. And this seeking has sustained me. It sustained me through my mother's illness and subsequent death less than a year later. It sustained me through my own rare cancer diagnosis in my 20s. And it sustained me still, even when the doctor called on April 2nd of this year to tell me that the lump in my breast was indeed cancer. Now, near the end of the call, after sharing all of the info that she had and all the appointments that she had set up, she asked me sincerely, "Amelia, how are you?" "Angry," I answered honestly. "Very, very angry." After talking with my husband and family, I called my prayer warriors, including my good friend, Pastor Persephone. "I need you to pray," I said, "because I can't right now." And pray she did. By the time I talked to my primary doctor a few weeks later, she asked me how I was doing. I'll admit, I was surprised when I heard myself say, "I'm grateful." If someone had to have this, then I'm glad it's me, because I have every weapon with which to fight. We found Kidada. Now, please don't get me wrong. I'm not magnanimous enough or holy enough to choose this or voluntarily put my family through this. I ain't there yet. It's been challenging, but there have also been moments of pure joy. My bonus daughter's wedding that made everyone there fall in love again. Teaching my niece the family chocolate cake recipe, and finding a beautiful new church home. And y'all, God is already planning my testimony. And you should know that my prayer journals are full of questions, but they are equally full of gratitude and praise and shouts of deliverance and thanksgiving. Once at the end of an appointment, my radiation oncologist said, "You lift everyone's spirit when you're here. You have a way about you, a presence even, and you're responding to treatment so well. And your side effects really have been quite minimal. Whatever you're doing, Amelia, keep it up. Y'all, I just smiled because y'all already know. The truth is, I'm always seeking.